Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Rajanikanth, Bharadwaj, sir. As Henry Ford quotes, anyone who stops learning is old, whether at 20 or 80. Anyone who keeps learning stays young. The greatest thing in life is to keep your mind young. Today, you have all proved that your minds are so young by attending this webinar. On behalf of ITM Business School Chennai, I welcome all the students, industrialists, faculties, and well-wishers to the webinar on the role of supply chain management in pandemic management. ITM Business School Chennai is part of ITM group of institutions founded in 1991 by Dr. P.V. Ramana. ITM is not for profit charitable trust, and it was established with an aim to facilitate a multifaceted management knowledge generation and dissemination through ethical and value-based learning while catering to the needs of the emerging Indian economy. ITM Business School and flagship ITM PGDM programs are approved by the AICT, Ministry of HRD. ITM Business School Chennai is ranked 23rd among the top business schools in India. The agenda of today's webinar will be introducing the speaker, then the speaker will present a presentation towards the audience and followed by the question and answer session for 10 minutes. I kindly request all the participants to raise your queries through the chat window along with your name and email ID. Our speaker will answer all the questions during the Q&A sessions, but if anything remains unanswered, he will email you within 2 days. Request all the participants to remain in mute for the entire session and also kindly send your feedback through the chat window. Learning is the only thing the mind never exhausts, never fears, and never regrets. Today, we have Mr. Rajanikanth Bharadwaj, Senior Operations Manager, Grab, a Geo Venture. He is mostly involved in many projects with Reliance Smart, and currently he's been involved with home delivery of things, and he has been into the business of bringing in many clients. He was also a city operations manager at Swiggy. He is responsible for lean and effective operations to meet the business metrics. He also develops operations strategies to maintain cycles per day and cycles per hour within budget in line with demand. He has launched Swiggy operations in 90 plus Tier 3 and 4 cities in less than 100 days. Before joining Swiggy, he has also worked for more than 1.5 years as Deputy Manager at Videocon D2H, where he held dual role as Corporate HR Operations and Regional HR South. As Corporate HR Operations, he was responsible for corporate communication, employer branding, organization transformation, and master data management. As Regional HR South, he was responsible for talent development, manpower planning, CSR activities, and also developing induction programs. He has also 3 years of experience in Dr. Reddy's lab as assistant manager. He was mainly responsible for cultural transformation, design continuous improvement, and organization development initiatives. He did his MBA operations from ITM Business School Chennai and his bachelor's degree from Sri Venkateswara University. He is also a Six Sigma certified from Jure and Benchmark Institution. I welcome you, Mr. Rajanikanth Bharadwaj, on behalf of ITM School Chennai for this webinar. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation. Now over to you, Mr. Rajanikanth.
Thank you, Dr. Rachita. Good afternoon, one and all. So it's glad to take this opportunity to connect to back to my B school. And I feel again I'm back to 2013, connecting to all my colleagues. So I'm just missing the ambience over there, but in my mind I can recollect all the avenues where we were trying to share the learnings, those areas. And somewhere finding myself into -7 years. As you said, ma'am, it's always very healthy to be open as a learning, understand from what we have learned, and then share that knowledge as well to each other, so that their experience in the due course journey, they can also understand how the past cases has helped in the different problems and whether that can be applicable to them or not. And this course same with the continuation with the agenda that we have today on the supply chain management, right? So the current pandemic, how this supply chain management as a entire wing, as a department, can help to our regular operations. So as I said, supply chain management is it was an function actually has evolved out of the learning. So sooner as there was a regular practice on the a frequent same activity. We documented those activities, understand the various stats that take from changing one activity to the other, and then relate to those processes which would help to enhance those activities to cut down those stats. That's how the base root of the supply chain has come up, from how to understand from a demand that has raised to the one end, how that can be supplied to the other end. That's how the supply chain has. And the last 3-4 decades, there are a lot of many science has come into it. We have documented, we have structurized a lot about how this could be theoretically implemented in various industries. Many industries has even integrated among themselves how the other industrial practices of supply chain can help to the other, and they have customized on based on them. So we evolved on the many decades. The way today's systems are built in on just in time, you name it, Six Sigma, you name it. We do study on the all the recce on even a Swiggy, as I see in my past experience. While launching a city, we does the same. We do recce at the ground. What would be the customer base first, then what would be the supply and restaurant base, and what level of restaurants that we have here, in which uh, priorities that we should onboard them, and then based on that we onboard and then prioritize the areas of where the launch has to be there first, focusing on, so that we can invest more on the marketing over those areas, and then further expand in that entire city, so that no stably we can have an end to end win-win situation across the business. So it has been over due course of journey, we understand, okay, this methodology is helping us in our supply chain management. So but it has been taking a time to understand how and which methodology would support and a regular function, and which industry and which business function we are running into. If you just name it as a startup, whichever. So a startup starts with the very basic platform of data documentation in Excel, and later on it networks within the customers base or within the staff base through various social platforms, Google Sheets, WhatsApp groups, and then they try to build in IT related many platforms that would help them into integrate and then come up with a solution. Okay, this would help in my scale up. So in the due course, there was a lot of efforts that has been put on to this supply chain entire, from ensuring this entire demand in the system is being filled. So considering this all the journey, the current phase that we have come up with, the pandemic situation, is not been experienced to the entire human for the last many decades. We didn't even have a proper SOP how to face these in our previous learning, because the previous were very short. We were able to analyze is, okay, this would be the case and we can start our business from there. But this situation, if we even find a small excuse to restart our business, then there is probability of even facing worse situation, because the condition of the coronavirus is like not unknown to anybody. If everybody knows it, the way it get contaminated. So now we have to obey with the new laws that has built in. So the current situation, entire supply chain management across different industries has put on stake actually. So the current situation of supply chain, if you check with any of the industry, it's totally in stake. So we actually start any of the basic study to come up with a solution with the previous, what are the cases has been, like considering current scenario of Ramzan. So in Swiggy, I have experienced 2 Ramzan activities, where we have studied the way different cities customers pretend trend, actually their customer ordering trend we have studied. We have also studied the trend of hiring of delivery boys, and then later come up with a solution. Okay, this city would demand these many orders of this segment of food, so we need to prepare 1 month prior what are the different offers that we should roll out for those cities. So that sort of back end study we used to do for a from last 4 years, what was the trend and what should be implemented in the current year. That's how that study used to be done before 1 month of a festival. Whereas in the current situation, it's totally in stake. Even if there is any festival which is coming up of next month or even after next quarter where entire pandemic situation is done, even if the lockdown is open, even it is open for the e-commerce, but still the supply chain won't be acting in the same way as today. We cannot implement the same formula of understanding the trend of demand of either be a customers or interim vendors, how there would be a growth of demand in, we cannot do with the previous. So it's totally in stake. So the current solution has been recommended based on the various categorization of the product that you are into. So it totally depends on the which vector, which uh, element that you are actually, which product that you are into, either it is a pharmaceutical, either it be automobile, or it will be chemical industry, either be agriculture. So which sort of industry that you are into, because every product right now has been categorized newly as essential, non-essential, and then categorized with different laws, whether should be allowed or not allowed, with the different laws of international level, national level, and domestically also, in between state to state, whether it should be imported or not exported. So right now, and this is not the situation that implies to a specific product. It implies to each and everybody. It's not just a local problem, it's even an international problem. Even you see there are a lot of countries even have stopped the import of the essential items like PPEs. There are, these are very essential right now, isn't it, for COVID-19 situation? But there are countries which has even stopped getting PPEs. So there are even countries which have stopped taking support of any supply chain from the different industry. So right now, if you take any of the e-commerce platform like Zomato, like Paytm, different segment, Amazon, how they try to fulfill the demand is that just they set up a fulfillment center which would have a predicted just in time inventory in hand, so that the supply which arises based on the trend we can meet. So how in the last few decades, if everybody would have witnessed how Amazon could come in delivering the groceries within just 2 hours of your order. It just came 6 months back, isn't it, everywhere in India? So how it could come? Because it could able to set up such a fulfillment center near to your metros. So certain the supply chain could be able to tackle that demand. But in the current scenario, entire ad hoc demand would be there from the next coming years. So that's the current situation of the supply chain, and how to overcome up with it. So there are a lot of solutions for the different industries, but the major I would recommend, and also been recommended by WHO, is to be very lean in terms of understanding what your business is into. So understand and implement the lean system first. Ensure that your entire team as an organization are being very responsible in what actually every task that you're doing. If you're ordering for certain goods, for even for the, as per your analyticals that this would be necessary for a month, then order exactly, but not on ad hoc basis. Okay, let us keep it in warehouse like earlier scenario. So everybody has to be very much responsibly take actions, because these every action matter a lot for an organization and for the national level as well. So in the current supply chain activities, we have to be very responsible at every step. The decision that we take, it has to be very immediate. It's not just about the goal of the company, but also the way the resources are being useful. So it has to think upon the whether it will fit to our current ecosystem, because we cannot now depend upon the earlier ecosystem which we were related earlier. So now we have to relate with the entirely new ecosystem. So that has to be built in, and without the guide of IT tool here, there is no solution for the sustainability. So if you want to sustain in the business where it even face this pandemic situation, you have to enable your entire operations end to end with the IT systems. So which would give a visibility from the demand from where it is coming, and to the supply at the end where the product is being reached to the customer. So, and it has to be very precise tag that as well. So we cannot have multiple suppliers here in this current situation, where earlier we used to have a Coca-Cola from many distributors, small vendors. So the Coca-Cola will reach a small, I'm just taking example of Coca-Cola, either any of the drinks or any of the medicine, it will reach to your end consumer after transferring to the many vendors. There are items which would transfer from one vendor to the other vendor more than 15 times and then reach to the end consumer. But here now, if we have to sustain in the current pandemic situation, then it has to be very ideal situation where the end supplier would be there, manufacturer would be there, distributor would be there, and consumer would be there. So if we don't have this just 4 layers, then sustainability and making the cost optimization at the all levels is difficult. And also having the visibility from the supply till the delivery has to be there. So at every point, every team has to be aligned on where the item is. We cannot keep now any item just as an inventory, dead stakes at our any of the area, because each and every item has to be worked on just in time. Otherwise, sustainability is totally difficult for the coming next, say, not, I won't say decade, but at least minimum next 2 years it is difficult. So more than 25% of the current startups are in difficult situation because of not adopting to these tools. So they have to immediately adopt the tools. This actually also come up with the good question that has come up from an student. I don't know who have questioned this, but there are a few questions that I have received. So they were asking like whether there will be integration of digitalization with the operations, so that would help. Yes, obviously it would help, because without digitalization we would not know, we would not gain the confidence of the customer. So here it is all about how confident, how you will gain the confidence of the customer as well, because here you have to gain the confidence of the customer in terms of the hygiene practices that you are, because the COVID-19 has attracted a lot of awareness among the every consumer in terms of how hygiene your product is, whether it is contaminated, not contaminated, the way. So everybody now speaking in the end delivery in the contact, zero contact manner. So whether you have adopt that process immediately or not, so that will sustain you. If not, then obviously if some other competitor have adopted that, then obviously he is the first choice of the consumer. So these sort of tools has to be implemented immediately. So I'll just want to highlight a few of the guidelines that set by the WHO in terms of supply chain, where they recommended first to focus on the food chain of the human immediately, and along with the PPEs. So we have food chain, we need not to worry about, because this is not an earthquake, this is not an cyclone where it has washed away our food ecosystem. Our food ecosystem is totally reserved as per plan of normal government. We are reserved already with the coming quarters. So we are not worried about the food. We need not to worry about the food, but at least the current PPEs need to be in place. There was a common sense of different nations to see China as a bigger supplier for the PPE just few months before. But considering now many rejects from the products that has come up from the China, every nation now even started being nationalized on their own goods. So they are producing the entire PPE kits, whichever the resource they required. Now they are adopting to prepare on their own. So if economy has to be revised now, I'm not the right person to recommend, but yes, if you want your company economy to be safeguarded, you have to ensure that you are not importing costly items from the different far places. You have to ensure your local players are empowered. So even if you're spending a rupee extra for a local player, it's much more better for sustainability than you're investing on the products of the some far away places. So the import right now it's going to be very costly when compared to the earlier practice, because we were earlier buying in bulk, because we know we would scale up in this percentage of these many months or this quarter. We were having certain database to judge that, but right now we cannot rely on the earlier data science. So the data analytics, data science of earlier, we cannot. We have to study data analytics based on weeks, based on days, based on, obviously you will find the growth in the current scenario because you are doing analysis of the yesterday or last week. Obviously there will be growth, but yes, go by that trend. Go by that trend. Also, you have to incorporate with the laws that has been revised. You have to start with zero. Earlier the law was national wise, you can supply anywhere, your consumer can be at any corner, but right now you have to check whether law has enabled you to supply or not. We have to, so in the e-commerce we were like eagerly waiting from the last few 3 weeks. So we were waiting for the news. So when the e-commerce would be enabled for the non-essential items, when our deliveries can be enabled, when we will get e-passes for our delivery boys so that they can be enabled for that area, this area, because there are a lot of contaminated areas within the city. So contamination areas will not be supplied with any of the goods, right? So we have to ensure we're keep on updating ourselves from the local information. So whether, okay, in Bangalore, Kormangala, whether it has been released from the contamination stage. So every day you have to keep update. It's not that newspaper we will read and then we take decision. We have to check every day. Okay, today it has been 14 days. It has been out of contamination zone. Let us start our business tomorrow. If we are not that fast enough, survival, no doubt, it's far away. So these sort of quickness, fast movement of operational activities are required. We have to be more energetic, like a entrepreneur. We cannot even Swiggy right now, it's been a 5 years, so it cannot say, okay, I'm out of now being a startup because I have become a unicorn, I got good funds. Now it has to become again a startup. So if we don't again start from the scratch, like, okay, in Bangalore it would have did a service of about 15 kilometers across with 55 zones, but right now again we are in the day one of the first month of the Bangalore where we were doing service for 3 zones, because those 3 zones are out of contamination zones. So we have to again now plan, like, new city getting launched. Okay, which zone I can launch, which zone is enabled, which zone is not enabled. We have to start from the first. Yes, we are very well aware of the cases how to start. We are not aware of how to run the business. We are now much more concerned about the new laws that has been come up, new adoption of processes, how to gain the customer confidence on the product. There are a lot of other new challenges that have added. So that the answers for these all based on different customized product industry segment that you are working with has to be drawn immediately, so that the leaders can work on that, implement immediately to the ground people, and then execute it. So this has to be structured. So students, wherever you are actually looking forward to join, are planning to do internship, plan these I recommend do study to your organization with the current pandemic situation, how their different alignments of the law or product accessories or different methodology that could help them in making them different, out of box from the different competitors. You have to recommend them, you have to give them solution. They would pick up what best possible. They would also might give you why this is not been applicable, why this could be applicable. And you never know, like, your solution was even never been thought by them, or your ground information is much more updated than their update info. So because people right now, you might be in the right ground, whereas they are in the still in the AC corporate. So that's the how current scenario is. So I could recommend you all to just ensure wherever the studies, that learning that you have been implementing, please ensure the new adoption throughout this new process has been implemented right now. So for the learning which has been done in the supply chain management is totally into the understanding of tools, how we can use them now, this being part of our routine. But how we can now use more of our common sense with the new process has come on, that has to be designed. So a lot of design work would be there in the initial phase right now for the any organization that you go, so where your support would be required. Even in my early stages where I was there with the Dr. Reddy Laboratories, I was there with the HR and understanding how they hire, how they maintain files in their rack. So from the ground, if you know how the system works, then you can recommend what best can be done. So there were opportunity to recommend what best can be done, then you are recognized very well that you have come up to think as an owner. So lot of marketing also required in terms of your sustainability in term by showing your showing your ownership as well over here. So wherever you are working, please ensure that you have implemented your brains to understand their processes, and also how their processes are there in the ground. You don't have to do anything new, you just show them how their processes are working in the ground. That's even more than enough. Maybe that insight itself will give them more of their understanding. Okay, acha, in processes or white, black and white, it might look like this, but at ground, okay, this is what it looked like, and these are the different difficulties that ground team is facing. So which I got to know because of you. Thanks a lot. I would ensure these processes are backlog can be taken care. There is no further loophole for this, so that that could help in leakages. It may financially help them, it can help them in revenue, or it may help them in understanding who is doing flaws in the system, taking advantage of time. So right now I have to focus on the ownership, the way you are taking up any task, and be responsible whatever you're doing, whichever resources that you're using, ensure that it adopt the ecosystem immediately, and also recommend each and everybody to adopt the new ecosystem. If they are not adopting with the cultural transformation right now it is required, and if they are not adopting to the new processes, they cannot sustain. They cannot still think on, no, I can just use still my fingerprint for checking to the door. That was fancy earlier. Right now what is required is you cannot touch your any of the door. Right now you cannot do any contact to any of the physical presence. So you have to use now swiping cards or any digital methodology to even check into your office. So that's how the recommendations has to be there. So you have to adopt this. So any company, even wherever you're going, you find certain small things, like they are still the employees are using finger fingerprint touch to open the door or check in to their routine duties. It's wrong. It's absolutely wrong, not just as a practice, but also current ecosystem should not be allowed to do that. So these sort of even small support that you do for an organization as a case study, understanding that still, though it has been recommended by you, but still that sort of office, because of lagging of this IT asset, they are still practicing that, then it's big offense. You should make it visible to them, and you should have the courage to tell the truth, stand by it. Nothing wrong in it, and you have to put up in a right way. That's it. It doesn't hurt to any ego. So that's it. That would help you a lot and take you bigger mile. I thought I could do some justice to the topic given. There were few questions which I would like to answer. So I have received these questions. I would also take the question and answer myself. So, and post after this, Dr. Ajita,
Yeah,
I would take your help to take the questions from the students as well. So these questions were like, first question goes this way: how to create, maintain a sustainable supply chain structure
capable of withstanding pandemic, if any.
Yeah. So I was saying, look, to if you want to sustain in the current changes, then you have to ensure the entire system that you are building in the base should adopt the immediate changes that happening in the ecosystem. So it even relate to the IT integration. So you cannot maintain your platform, whichever you are working, so rigid. Like you cannot work like Apple iOS, which will not allow you to install anything which is user friendly. So you should adopt to your certain platforms which are really user friendly. Ensure that, okay, tomorrow customer need an SMS confirmation on every order placed. You have to adopt certain platform where immediately can be integrated. Okay, tomorrow, in today's scenario, you see how banks are immediately adopting to the WhatsApp businesses. Even just few weeks back, you would have seen an update from the Reliance Jio. It has started a WhatsApp ordering system post we tied up with Facebook. So that's how the adoption has to be there. You integrate with the multiple digital world today and ensure the end customer are being benefited. Today, I just can WhatsApp a number, hi, and get my balance check for my different banks. So that sort of integration has to be there. I need not to go to SMS, old tradition methodology, give missed call. Still, SBI is there in that platform. It should SBI should also come up on WhatsApp because world are using that. So that's how the adoption has to be there to change and integrate with a different line. So that shows the sustainability. So that's how I answer that question.
The next question which was asked, this were the question which was collected from the registration form.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. What will, then there are a few of them who have posted their question also. Once this is over, I'll ask those questions. So the second question from the registration form was like, what will happen to middlemen? As you know, pharmaceutical venture generic Aadhar, founded by Arjun Deshpande, has made great by cutting caste, but middlemen are affected. What can be done for that?
See, I do have a lot of respect for what Arjun Deshpande have done, but it's been very recent that he have came into limelight and got even good empower from Tatas as well. But still, this is not the new process that he is trying to solve. It's been decade. Even I have seen many movies on this forum of bringing generic to the poor people are brought to the Indian market. So Indian manufacturing for any of the pharma medicine should be available to the India with the cheaper rates, because unnecessarily branding would make them costlier. This is from a decade problem which many institutions, many individuals trying to bring a solution, but it's not. I don't. There is an individual problem altogether over it. Even government cannot help it, because it's a human tendency to have confidence on what doctor has been prescribed. I should take the same, or I should get the good Bharosemand brand out of it. If there is a Dr. Reddy's logo, if there is a Lupin logo, I would buy it. So it's become a myth for an human tendency that that would help relieve him from the pain, and he can afford, then he will do it. So even though generic would have the same value of what medicinal value that costlier product has, but still it's the human who have to go there and buy it. They are there. So what Arjun Deshpande is trying to solve has a long path to go. Yes, it need a bigger large support, as like bigger hand, like Tata is really did really well supporting him. Tata is really thinking positive in that matter, really. So it takes long. So even a decade looting the telecom industry, like Airtel, many of the telecom industry has taken a lot of money from the customers based on 2G, 3G, but Jio has taken a strong step to invest certain a lot, and then come up within a year he have changed the entire industry ecosystem. So everybody now came to the what best can be done to the consumer. So the customer orientation has adopted a lot to the telecom. Like that, for a pharmaceutical, if that nature can be immediately integrated, if they could look forward, then it will be great. But even there is a human tendency, traditional attachment to it, which has to be resolved.
Okay, thank you so much. And the next question is, what is the role of operations management in digital marketing platform?
Yeah, there is a lot of connection in between the digital marketing platform integrating with the operation management, because as I said, a lot of integration has to be there. What I have told a small example of WhatsApp businesses that are getting adopted by many banking industries, and even online e-commerce, say like Jio also getting adopted to it. It's very much important to, if you don't get integrated, if you are not reaching to the customer base, you cannot play in scale. And right now, if you are running in scale, then your survival to the fittest is really good. And then you can integrate to entire ecosystem. You can build that where you can minimize your non value added activities. You can minimize your cost on many suppliers. You can do your own inventory, you can do your own manufacturing in future as well. So adopting these SMS services, WhatsApp businesses, chatbots, this would help a lot. So digital marketing has a lot future. uh, Bringing uh, if you say today's any of the platform like TikTok, Facebook, WhatsApp, WhatsApp doesn't allow much of the digital marketing, but still these all that has come up with business solution, right, for corporates. So that is also again, so it has bring certain revenue from the different segments. So it's always helpful for an operation management to adopt any of the digital immediately based on customize what how they can generate revenue further. So there is a bigger role in integrating operation management with digital platforms.
Very good. Thank you. And next one is like, is there new opportunity to partner and merge with another business as of now?
Please come in. This is from the chat.
Registration forms, what we have got, and like, is there any
Please.
new opportunity to partner or merge with another business as of now?
Yes, there are a lot more opportunities because the current scenario, there are many manufacturers traditional who are buying goods from the different suppliers, and based on that they are producing end product. But right now, as I said, if they are not supplying their own raw materials, their survival is very much gonna be not sustainable in the current market. Still, if they're gonna practicing the same, then it's very difficult. They have to come up with the really back end with very good revenue to sustain at least next 2 years, and then post which they can see how further development can happen with the revenue. But if they are looking for sustenance, then it is very difficult. That's the reason you will find a lot of merger happening in this coming further next 2 years. Even you've seen the practical of Geo getting bigger loss due to pandemic, and it could make revenue only after leaving away few stakes to the different, and it immediately even right now start having intention to even sale of the Asian Paint, because it knows the Asian Paint would not no survive further a longer run. It would not it is not my gold cow. So right, so that's the reason now Real also wants somebody to buy the stakes of the Asian Paint, so that this revenues can be generated immediately. So similar thought of the business has to be there right now. If you know really that my business will not sustain because of this pandemic situation, because my supply is totally depend on certain items which has to cross over many states, which involve a lot of time to adopt, lot of hiccups are there. And if you're getting immediate good revenue by uh, adopting to the new manufacturing system, changing of your entire gold product into different, like if Swiggy in a day now stop doing food service and say I am only into the grocery service, it has to adopt, because if it knows that there is no food services happening in a year, then it should immediately focus on groceries, because groceries are allowed. So that sort of immediate adoption has to be there in the bigger level. Entire set of product has to be updated, and that change has to be adopted. If not, if either your sustenance is difficult, or if you could able to generate immediate revenue out of it, like selling of Swiggy food into some other, like Zomato is ready to buy with some good revenue, and if you're finding some good revenue out of it, you should, nothing lost in that. You should not feel anything bad about it. If you're generating good revenue, that revenue would support right now as an investment on the right immediate new opportunities that you are looking forward. So that what I would recommend for.
Okay, we have a question from Sasikala. She's asking, like, in this pandemic time, is it right to start a new venture?
Yes, until there is a demand. So it's very difficult, hard to even foresee a company without customer. There are right now many companies who are looking for the answers, who is my customer, because right now there are a lot of companies whose customers are die for next 6 months. So they're still trying to figure out what should be their company. Or there are live examples, right? Who knows, railway as a IRCTC would manufacture PPE. So today we are doing, our military would start manufacturing ppe. Who have think those days? Today they are doing it. There are a lot of manufacturing car mobile industries. They are immediately overnight, their r&d have developed ppe workstations. Who have thought dreamt about it? Their r&d would have dreamt about it. Every day they would have dreamed how the car should look like in future, but not how the ppe should be manufactured next day. So overnight they did that. So if you don't, it's very hard. So
So if there is a demand, you
yeah,
can follow
and
that.
if you
Okay.
have customers right now in a venture, yeah, if you right now you think there is customer right in time right now for your product that you are thinking, you start with small and scale up. And you will find a lot of entrepreneurs right now in the market who would support you, because this is an era where a lot of youngsters would look forward entrepreneurships rather than structure oriented companies to hire. So I foresee lot of entrepreneurs coming up. Even there are millions of unemployment happening, which who would also push through the many entrepreneurial development things. So you would find a lot of support from them as well. So you should do a venture if you find there are customers in your ecosystem. And yes, ecosystem should not be big as of now. I know sky should be our target, but right now sky, if it is, we have to see where all these laws are getting implemented. We have to see the laws are also being taken care.
Okay. The next question is from the registration form. Like, what are the assurance need to be provided to facilitate the staff members so that they stay safe during work?
Yeah, in my discussion I answered that as well. So you have to ensure your first having a proper safe workspace. Ensure that you're not utilizing them end to end like previous. You have to adhere to the new laws as well. Right now India has come up with new laws of 33% of staff, right? So you have to ensure your shift is being designed that way. Your social distancing among each colleague to the other is being taken care. Hygiene at the workspace being taken care. As I said, instead of fingerprint, you should swipe in or online check-in. Certain zero contact work environment has to be there. Necessary PPEs has to be there. If you don't give these all assurity that your health is assured, having these all physical uh, policies taken care, and also a insurance policy taken care, which would ensure your entire family being assured on your health policies, there would be very hard for corporates to even look forward staff to come to the office. So it's best for now until this pandemic situation uh, go to the control phase. Work from home is always best, like we are doing everybody right now. So but if there are certain scenario where this contamination is less, yes, as a responsible person, as a, you have to take the ownership. You have to go to the workstations if required, and please do give 100%, 150%, and ensure what the goal all about with that organization, and ensure it would help our society to bring back to what we have lost in this pandemic.
Okay, I have a question from Manivardhan. I hope a few of this answer you have given, but I'll ask those.
Hmm.
In this lockdown time or after this lockdown, can I start an online delivery service company? If I start, what will happen? Is it good to start?
Yeah, not after pandemic, even right now you should start. Find where the law is been giving it leverage. Like there are a lot of green zones, right? And even government has started coming forward. They are trying to bring in online delivery of liquor as well, right? So it's not about the something wrong, but it's all about the supply chain, integrating the demand into e-commerce platform. It should start immediately. We need not to wait for long. So start wherever the best possible in the green zone platforms, and also in the red zone also it is viable, right? It's not that only in the contamination zone it is not viable. In even red zone it is viable, but yes, the limitations are there. So there won't be any consumer who would be adopting for order. So there won't be any orders from consumer, right? So even your interference over red zone also would not help. But yes, this adoption of e-commerce is gonna boom immediately as the lockdown is over. So even right now, if you could enter into the green zone, understand all the difficulties, set up, bring the confidence on, okay, in the green zone with the consumer of 1 lakh, I would able to sustain. I was able to do these. I was able to, as an organization, understand these are the difficulties that I need to face. Then going to the red zone once it is open as a green, it will be very easier. So there you have to play with the bigger scale, like 1 crore of population, where you would get 10%, like 10 lakh orders as well. Whether your supply is able to help or not, that you have to understand. So e-commerce, getting into e-commerce right now, it's a very good opportunity. Yes, there are big players in the already in the market, but still, I would still recommend. There is nothing wrong in bringing in new platforms, because never know which platform could really connect with the right uh, uh, stakeholders, and they become bigger dependent supply chain altogether. So even right now, even having a geo as a logo, we may not get entrance to the many areas, because there will be local players, stakeholders, government entities who may not be finding it is right now for the supply chain. But if in the right time, in the right pace, if he got in touch with certain vendors who are local, and they feel okay, these are the small player, I can have more visibility, I can have more command on them, he may allow him. So as a जियो he might find okay, अरे बाबा जियो से कौन पंगा करेगा, उसके मैनेजर से बात करो, उसके ऊपर वाले से बात करो, उसको मनाओ, उससे अच्छा मना ही बोल दो, है ही नहीं है, they are not allowing, I cannot command you, so better. But whereas when a local player go, right, they know, अरे तुम्हारा ओनर कौन है, उसका नंबर दो, like immediately he take, and then he might really do well. So that's how the small player can also take a big shot when it comes to e-com right now as a entrance.
Thank you. We have a question from the registration form. Like they're asking how pandemic period can affect the management of the organization, company management.
See, it affected a lot. It's a very general question how it affect, because it affected entire India. It has affected a lot. It has affected entire our laws, entire our data science, entire our data analyticals. So if I go by data, then I should right now today doing with Swiggy more than 10 lakh orders per day, but right now not even thousands we are doing for a city. So obviously it is very hard time to actually understand with no even to measure what has gone wrong, it is difficult, because everything has been halt. It's very unclear until what time this gonna recover. So we have to just try to understand how this new law and how the new demand would start up, and from which junction we should again scratch with our new policies, and then bring in the stability.
Okay. We have a very interesting question from Gulchan sir. He's asking, like, considering the ongoing pandemic across the globe, what would be the new phase of supply chain challenges henceforth? And he's telling, like, it may be funny to ask, but out of my curiosity, I'm asking, will we see the future of supply chain in the form of items or commodities being delivered by drones?
Yes, why not? Even right now, they are into the pilot phase in many cities across. And right now, you might even find a drone if you stand hover outside a city, but that would have a camera with the police in control, right? So there are also there are many news where they have did some deliveries as well. So adopting that in the lockdown stage is good, because it is a no plane are going on. There are a lot of policies that can be violated right now, because getting things done is what the motto right now, right? But in the future, making it structure, things are in pilot. But earlier we were having additional budget to do innovation, additional budget to have a pod who would do R&D, who would do certain experiments with the what should be the taste that food should like, whether we should innovate a new food item for end consumer, how the trend of the end consumers are leading into, so we should innovate more there. So considering right now entire disturbance in the economy, any such R&D would take further more time. Any investment in these areas would be able to bid. Earlier, even Swiggy could even think of investing on these areas, but right now we should not do right now, because our investment should be in the right direction. We, as not just Swiggy, as any of the company right now in the India, somebody should not do it, because our revenue should be towards in the right direction. But yeah, somebody who can do it is like Amazon. Yes, already they did the pilot. If right now they are also using the same methodology for the entire city as well, so they should scale up right now, and they should think this is implemented in the, at least in those western countries where even the adoption of cancellations is less. So the cancellation rates are less over there. Here in India, cancellation rates are itself 15%, where it's whooping high, and even there are a lot of scams happening. So we need to control on a lot of disciplines to adopt this. So if the product is very niche, or the scale is very less, revenue is high, it can be adopted very easily.
Okay, thank you. The next question is like from the registration form we have. During this pandemic, how supply chain can maintain their business?
One can maintain their business in the current scenario if they are into the lean and immediately adopting to the changes. That's the only key solution right now open. They should immediately think forward cost optimization. The budget that they would have earlier maintained for even hiring a, say, delivery boy or getting a product, they would have had a certain commissioning happening for different vendors. So those all practices has to be stopped immediately. So the revenue has to go in the right direction. Even I told, rather than spending a rupee as a commission to import a product from many uh, different countries where it can be lesser rate, but you should rather implement certain ideas where you spend 1 rupee extra, but even just develop a local vendor and give him scale in due course, and have a rapport with him and reduce the cost. That's how right now the motto has to be there. You cannot hire we used to hire a candidate of delivery boy with the rate of like average CPH cost per hire of 1,000 rupees. Right now we cannot practice that 1,000 rupees spent on hiring a delivery boy. We would do our internal sourcing, we would do referrals, we will not do even hiring is so far. Our demand is not that much, but even if there is a demand which is come up after the pandemic, would look forward to adopt our own in-house recruitment system rather than outsource again spending thousands of money. So that's how the adoption has to be there in the current scenario. If you want to sustain, three things: ensure your lean management is being adopted immediately. Changes has been adopted with very processes, like if there is an integration required in the IT systems, please get it attached, so that that build up the confidence with the customers, with the vendors, that yes, my item, it's coming from this area, raw material, which is really safer place, and yes, it is getting transported to this distributor and that distributor, and it is coming via this guy. And yes, on the door delivery he showed me the ID card, so it is the same person. So my entire raw material, from it's getting manufactured till the my consumer hand, it is safe all the way. So that sort of confidence should be visibly possible. So that sort of adoption has to be there in the platform. And then the end cost effectiveness has to be there. Three mantra has to be there for right now for the sustainability.
Okay. So the next question is from Divigesh. He's asking, like, as I think as you have been doing, he's asking, when 5G in India?
5G in India?
When will we have 5G in India?
5G in India, I may not have answer. I am still even relying on the sources as I see in the media. As per my source, it's already been pilot, uh, but it has not yet no approved by try to getting adopted to the various distributor, like no Geo should. Nobody is yet to license it. It is available already on the pilot stage. Yes, it is working, but the licensing has not been started because it is costlier right now. Whether we need of this certain as a product, because it has a lot of investment altogether to getting this adopted, and after immediately adoption there should be end consumer as well. Right now whether India has certain 5G devices, so if I just say no, because as per my understanding right now we don't have a 5G device other than the latest iPhone, right? So even if it is launched right away in the immediate next quarter as well, where are the consumers? So unless until you have a consumer who would consume it and generate a revenue, you cannot sustain even opening it. If you right now I cannot create 100 cake even it is a new year, right? Today suppose tomorrow is a new year, I cannot open a shop with 100 cakes, because tomorrow I know there is no customer gonna come and buy, because it is a pandemic situation.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's absolutely depend upon the consumer behavior. Right now the consumer behavior is absolutely pretended, they are not investing anything. Everybody who are getting half salary, full salary, they are trying to ensure they are reserved for the future adverse situations. So nobody is investing on anything. Yes, if they are been backed up with very good revenue, they might invest right now in good real estate or good revenue generation, or somebody thinking on starting up new business where that can generate revenue. Yes, it is the right time. But like 5G, because it need a lot of investment to do with the government and also with the private sectors, nobody would enter right now in India.
That was fine. And we have a question from Paramesh. Like he's asking, sir, do you think that the online portal and the e-commerce boom has developed the supply chain management to the next extent and has made it the next industry to show concern on for developments in the future?
Yes, a lot, a lot. Without IT, without e-commerce visibility on the supply chain, I would say the entire current millennials that we term our next generation, right? They would be not certain, no, used to smartphones. Today, everybody are so keen on no buying things, so confident that anything is required. We would immediately go for Flipkart, Amazon, whichever platform we immediately like a lot. So we end up in taking crazy offers in many events that keep coming. So not in the current pandemic situation, but earlier. So that entire adoption, the customer behavior has been changed a lot by these uh, discoveries of no in e-commerce platform, and every supply chain has, every industry has adopted it. Earlier pharma was very pretended to get into these e-commerce, but right now you'll see end number of ayurvedic medicines also available in the e-commerce. So many industries has come. Now you can book, even see a tire also on e-commerce. You can book even bike on the e-commerce. So there are a lot of industries who are actually adopting now digital uh, platforms for selling their products. So there are industries who would adopt at the end of the day. They know they want to reach the end consumer at any point of time, at any point of because consumer behavior is like that. They might think to buy bike at night 11 o'clock rather than morning. So they might find time at that time point of time, and they're right. We cannot be still a traditional house office wala opening 9 to 9 showroom and then find a way. So we have to adopt this digitalization where consumer can reach out to the products of the manufacturer, and product get delivered as per the guidelines, as per the stated in that product details. So that's how adoption has to be there. E-commerce has to be, it is a future actually.
We have a question from Sehaj Singh Holi. He's asking, like, what do you think that Swiggy or Zomato will do to get back at place it was before the pandemic? And in terms of earnings, he's asking.
Okay. See, to get back to the older stage, what it can do is it can again sell pizza at 9 rupees and burger in 2 rupees. So consumers would surely again adopt it. But we being so aggressive to the market, when there are laws supporting us, right? So when we are backed up with certain delivery boys in hand, when we have restaurants ready with certain resources required to the adverse demand that has come up. And those days where we were having certain inventory ready to come up with certain marketing campaign, there were days actually now really happy days. It was just months before we were enjoying certain days. Now considering today's scenario, never we have dreamt these days, right? So if you are trying to uh, uh, take me answer on when these days would come, then it's gonna take about a year plus. And what Swiggy and Zomato can do, I answered. It's just a one day we required to sell pizza in 2 rupees or 9 rupees. That's it. Everybody would be on stage. That would give actually a bigger hype, because Swiggy, Zomato, they work on that way, right? Isn't it? So we want a bigger communication, a attachment with the end consumer, that we are for you, and absolutely this platform is user friendly for you. Once you are really having an impression on what it supply, then obviously you would understand and keep on using it. So that's how this tool, and it's not new now. Everybody knows how the culture of Swiggy Zomato is. We're also just waiting for the right time to get into the market. And right now we would not dream that situation, because right now the pandemic situation is there. We cannot go aggressive. Even the law says yes, now you it is lockdown is open, now you can supply. We would not come up with certain uh, offers at all. We would still be offering at higher price, so that the demand would be less, contamination would be less. Even there is a contamination, so the stability would be there in end-to-end win-win situation sort of scenario. Even there is a removal of lockdown, there will be a we will ensure, and our delivery boys are having absolute PPEs while delivering the product. There are zero contact, either be right now with the Geo Mart, where we are delivering groceries at Mumbai, at few of the areas across the Mumbai and the west regions. Either be with the McDonald's, we have as a client, we are delivering them as well. We have Big Bazaar for the grocery deliveries. So these all clients we are serving right now as a Grab. So we are delivering with the zero, absolutely zero contact. So they are having PPEs. We have adopted certain tools immediately after this pandemic situation, where they have to click photo and share to prove that they are with PPE on today while after joining a duty. So that sort of adoption has to be there. If you don't adopt certain technology, would ensure your entire system is foolproof, you would not sustain. So in certain, if you're looking for Swiggy and Zomato old days where we come up with good offer and all, yes, we would soon be there. Only that this pandemic situation we have to come across, and it would happen as a together. Socially we take call on having a social distancing, ensure we educate others as well, to follow the safety guidelines has been given by government. And as well as a PPE, we have to ensure, even the government says okay today there is no need of mask, even still we have to use of common sense. कि हाँ baba, there was a contamination area, still I would wear mask for at least next 1 week going there. Never know, God grace, what could happen. So let us be very cautious on how this contamination, how this virus is. So we have to be very precautious on this part.
I have a final question, which is
Yes,
related
ma'am.
with future aspects of COVID. Many people have asked, and I am putting into one question, which has been asked in the perspective like, what will be the future of COVID, like effects in export business, effects in logistics, supply chain workers, and all those things. Post COVID, what will be the situation? It's a combination of many people. Like post COVID, what will be the future of the businesses on all this?
Sure. See, the fact we have to accept that we have to live with COVID actually. So last 2 months we were halt all together to understand the various hotspots where they are, and to accumulate what require to face this COVID further spread. And still the as immediate requirement of basic necessities like food and PPs has been already on, and even right now. but still for the sustenance of various industries, as the question say, is for the entire segment of the supply chain, right? So to ensure the further uh, post COVID situation, the pre is like this: we should not do anything. The pre is that we should focus on only essential items. We should not do any non-value added activities which would actually unnecessarily burn cash. So we have to be very reserved in terms of utilization of resources, and also any of the revenue that matter that would end up in loss. So we should better to stop any of the non-essential items that would not help in immediate revenue. But yes, if anything that would support in terms of current situation where we can face this COVID, we can support these COVID initiatives, yes, we should do. Like many industries have jumped into manufacturing of PPEs without their formal decorum. That is what the situation that a company should adopt if they are resourceful enough and they are utilizing their manufacturing setup and manpower for a positive way rather than being it is idle. So that's how the pre-COVID situation has to be there, that at least you are utilizing your manpower and resources available to face this COVID situation. So only in the direction of to face and to fight against COVID situation has to be the activities adopted for many industries until this COVID get controlled. And yes, post COVID get control, supply chain has to be back to their own standards with whatever segment that they are into. They have to ensure that the vertical entire linkage from raw to the product are very much optimized with lesser uh, transfer of items unnecessary from one hand to other hand, so that there will be least possible contamination even if there is. So the as much as the local players are there, it is as much as the safer. So they should not look forward revenue immediately, but yes, due course of time they will find revenue. But post COVID situation has to be there focused towards the again in the mode of where we can control COVID-19, because COVID-19 not gonna kill, not gonna expire in just a day, right? It gonna be there with us as a human for the next decade as well, if we still be very ignorant or doing certain practices which keep on spreading it. So we have to adopt certain means of supply chain where it will ensure to contaminate these spread. So pre-COVID is absolute how to fight COVID, whether I can use my resource against COVID. Post-COVID, absolute back to my mother manufacturing setup process, but ensuring less contaminational way of processes, getting entire team adopted to the new processes where they will find very responsible means of activity which would help lesser contamination, which would ensure revenue is being taken care, no unnecessary activities, no unnecessary revenue burn in terms of marketing. Like say earlier we used to have a 25% of no budget for just marketing, for just for branding. We used to spend on media, we used to spend on social networking, we used to spend on how we can capture the competitor customer base, right? So that sort of intention of capturing market should not be there post COVID. It has to be there for the sustenance at least for the next uh, 2 3 years, for at least how we can recover the losses for current situation, how can minimize the losses. So that sort of post COVID situations has to be there.
Yeah, very last question, which has recently posted
Huh.
by a participant. Like they are
So
asking, like, how can supply chain management after like the COVID-19 risk in short term and long term be managed by supply chains? I hope maximum you have answered, but
answered it, yes. See, short term for a supply chain, if you ask me, mm, short term would be like this, um, you're constructing some useful items for certain city in the within the city itself, like a I need a mask. My mom has helped my dad, and my dad has manufactured it, and he did for 10 quantity. So I am gonna carry that for next 2 3 months, and it is homemade, so I can rewash and reuse it. So I need not to now waste money against the mask, which I did for the early days. I purchased two masks for no 20 rupees each. I spent 40 rupees. Now those masks which at home we manufacture, it costs not more than 20 rupees of 10, right? That's how the short term goal has to be there. Whereas as a long term, if I see, I have to get back to away from family again. I am right now with the family, I am back because of the lockdown. But long term, whether that can sustain, I cannot be at my home sitting. Okay, there is a outside the world, there is a COVID, I should not go. I should not think in that direction. That would not help in me as a career for long run, neither my society. I have to go out to build society, right? Okay, and they are paying me money, it's salary, that's okay, that's helping me. But somewhere I am struggling to ensure the delivery is happening and the end consumer is getting gain. And it's not just one or two. Every day we do thousands, 10,000s, and we ensure the processes are set to ensure we are back to life, right? So if I don't go back to my routine life, if I don't go, then the long run has to be there. That for the long run, how it has to be there. If I have to go for long run, then I have to be prepared with what precautions I should go to back to Mumbai. Right now, everybody know in this forum how Mumbai is bad in terms of contamination, right? Still, I have to be there. So coming next month, at least I have to be there. Not just not at all as a pressure from the organization, but at least to get set back there, ensure the even the pandemic situation, all those non-contaminated areas, we are doing supply. At least the society over there who are hunger, they should be supplied. There are a lot of activities at NGO level also we are doing where we need support. Sitting here, I cannot support all the time. I have to be there as a owner as well. So that's how the ownership has been. And for that, all the precautions what can be taken, like we have to adopt new processes, how our supply chain can be minimized in terms of cost, how safety precautions can become parts and parcel of our life. So I cannot ask my rider to daily purchase a hand sanitizer which costs more than 100 rupees, right? So he might even earn just 600, 700 per day, and he have to spend earlier 100, 200 for petrol. Now he have to spend another 100, 200 for PPE, right? So he cannot do that. So I have to ensure there are further long run sustainability. So I have to ensure my client places, my office premises are having cost effective hand sanitizers, which are not costlier but cost effective, and even ensure they are having PPEs which would run for longer run. It's not just use and throw sort of PPE, but rewashable PPE. That sort of intention shows the long run. So like I am using right now the long run face mask which can be rewashed and reused. That is a long run rather than purchasing a short term PPE, right? So that sort of adoption has to be there. And going there, I can come up with new training modules to the which has to be there. So any new joinee who joins our organization as a rider has to go through a training module. He have to be certified for the PPE to how to use, how he should ensure our delivery are contactless, zero contact. So that sort of practices has to be adopted. It's not about just making them understand payout, making them understand how the app works. It also require a certification program on safety. So safety was earlier only concerned with the pharmaceuticals or manufacturing, where they are given helmet and safety shoe, right, and safety jacket if required. But right now every human, every employee has to be inducted on the PPE. So that sort of adoption has to be there and has to become parts and parcel of life. So many policies need to be designed which would be ensured, so there is no skip. Certain training are supposed not supposed to be skipped unless they are trained, they should not start their job. So those all policies need to be laid down as an organizational policies. So that sort of long run has to be there. So that only will ensure our entire supply chain are full proof of what right now we are facing with the pandemic situation.
So thank you so much, Rajanikanth. We have almost come to the end of the session, and it's like you have shared a very huge time. You have spent a very huge time in question and answer sessions, and it was very fabulous. Thank you so much. The webinar was quite informative and gave us a couple of ideas. I especially appreciate your optimism and stating the industry will be back, and I agree and only hope it's soon rather than later. And you told very clearly about how to identify which methodology supports supply chain management, the operations that has to be taken care during your COVID-19, and how the supply chain has to be changed according to the situation, the e-commerce platform, its relations with the supply chain, how to how to be responsible by procuring limited resources and how to get adapted to the ecosystem. And there was no need to worry about the food. That was a fantastic line, which everybody need, which is the need of the hour, and nationalizing their own goods. And how you also suggested very quietly and very precisely not to import costly items and manage items very perfectly. And you told like we have to start from the scratch, but everything is known to us. Learn the new adaptation from the place where you were. Wherever we are in, we have to learn. All these concepts were very awesome. Thank you so much. And being an alumni of ITM Business School Chennai, we felt like interacting with our own student. Thank you so much, sir. It was awesome.
Thanks a lot.
On behalf of
Thanks,
ITM
Doctor.
Business School Chennai, I thank you and all the participants for attending this webinar on transport management, role of supply chain management. I hope today we had a very valuable question and answer session. I thank all the attendees who raised the questions, very valuable questions. And if anything remained unanswered, mail us. We'll reply you within 2 days after getting the answer from sir. And we hope that you have enjoyed the session. Kindly give your feedbacks in the chat window. As always, it was wonderful to be able to spend time with you through this webinar. Good luck to all of you. We truly appreciate your support. Please do join us with us in tomorrow's webinar too. We shall jointly learn something new by registering the link which is provided in the chat box, and I'll also display the link. Please kindly provide your feedback. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thanks for such a